Imagine a world where the very devices designed to protect you become the instruments of your deepest fears, where the silent eye of a security camera doesn't just record the outside world, but peers into the darkest corners of your life, revealing things you never did, things that shouldn't be possible. Tonight, we delve into 3 chilling tales of suburban surveillance gone terrifyingly wrong, where the line between observer and observed blurs, and the mundane tranquility of home transforms into a stage for unseen horrors. Prepare yourself, because in these neighborhoods, everyone is watching and something unseen is watching back. Story 1, The House That Watched Back. In the serene, manicured suburbs just outside Denver, a fresh start beckoned. Jordan, a man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, had just moved into his new home. The neighborhood was everything he'd hoped for: pristine lawns, friendly faces, and a pervasive sense of security, amplified by the sleek, modern security cameras adoring almost every porch. It felt safe, idyllic, almost too perfect. Finally, he might have thought. A place where nothing bad ever happens. Oh, if only he knew how wrong he was. The unsettling began subtly, a faint whisper of unease. Every single night, with the precision of a broken clock at precisely 2:13 a.m., Jordan's phone would buzz. A notification from his front camera, movement detected. He'd dutifully check the footage, expecting perhaps a stray cat or a late-night jogger. Instead, he found only a still image, a frozen tableau of himself. There he was, a middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, standing on his own porch, looking directly into the camera lens. He was even wearing the exact same clothes that he had worn earlier that day. Must be a glitch, he'd murmur to himself, a slight frown creasing his brow, dismissing it with a weary sigh. But the glitches began to evolve, twisting into something far more sinister. The images escalated. Soon they depicted him doing things he had never, ever done. A middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, was captured standing in the middle of the street at night, gazing blankly into the darkness. Other images showed him peeking into his own windows, a grotesque parody of a burglar, or even more terrifyingly, entering his own house while he was presumably asleep in his own bed. "This is impossible," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper, as he scrubbed through the phantom footage. "I would never do any of that." He felt a cold dread begin to seep into his bones, a sense of violation that transcended mere privacy invasion. Who or what was staging these macabre performances? Driven by a growing terror, Jordan decided to confide in his neighbors. He spoke to Mrs. Henderson, an elderly woman with meticulously coiffed silver hair and a sharp, inquisitive gaze, wearing a floral housecoat, who lived 2 doors down. Then he approached Mr. Davies, a burly man with a thick mustache and a perpetually grumpy expression, wearing a faded plaid shirt, who was always tinkering with his antique car. To his horror, he discovered that their cameras, too, were capturing strange footage of Jordan, a middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, moving silently through the neighborhood at night. The consensus among them was unanimous and chilling. No one had ever actually seen this person. The phantom Jordan was a ghost in the machine, a digital specter. "It's like he just appears," Mrs. Henderson whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and bewilderment, "like a shadow with your face."
The psychological toll began to manifest. Jordan started locking his doors multiple times, checking the windows, jumping at every creak of the floorboards. Sleep became a luxury he could ill afford. One particularly tense night, a faint but distinct sound reached his ears. Slow, deliberate footsteps on his porch. His heart pounded like a drum against his ribs. He flung open the door, his breath catching in his throat, ready to confront the spectral intruder. But there was nothing. The porch light illuminated only empty space. The silence of the suburban night broken only by the chirping of crickets. Just my imagination, he tried to convince himself, his voice shaking. The next morning, his camera delivered the crushing blow. the ultimate chilling message. The footage from 2:13 a.m. showed the doppelganger, a middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans. Standing on his porch, a slow, malevolent smile spreading across his face, and then the words, a whisper caught by the sensitive microphone, "Don't open the door when I'm here." The message was clear, a direct warning from the impossible. The final piece of footage, a horrifying timestamp from 3 a.m., depicted the doppelganger, a middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, calmly walking into Jordan's house, the front door closing softly behind him as if he lived there.
Jordan hasn't been seen since. His house stands dark and silent, a monument to a vanished life. Yet, every so often, neighbors' cameras still pick up an occasional glimpse of a middle-aged man with neatly trimmed brown hair and a perpetually slightly worried expression, wearing a comfortable gray hoodie and jeans, wandering the streets, watching homes silently. A silent sentinel, perhaps, or a lingering echo of a terror that refused to stay confined to the digital realm. Was it a malevolent entity that assumed his form, or was Jordan himself somehow transformed, trapped in a chilling, endless loop of observation?